Shalom, shalom, Israel. First and foremost, I want to give all honor, glory, and praise unto YAHAWAH, SHAMAIWAN, Ba'Shem Rakwadah, double honors to the elders and apostles, great millstone, and shalom to my Akim Wakwathium, who are diligently waiting to be delivered from this final captivity. This is Brother Kawakub coming at you with another lesson, and today's lesson is just going to be a quick, refresher, alright, because as I was opened my computer, I had seen this video, and it just reminded me of the things of the lesson that I had done on this exact same subject, and it is so incredibly, obviously the oppression isn't funny, but it is still incredibly hilarious to see that there's a complete parallel, all right, in a completely different country, where all those things that so-called black people and the so-called Native Americans are facing, all the stuff that they're facing, these people are facing the literal exact same thing. All right, so I want to let some of this play so you can actually see some of the stuff because, and Slakia, I'm gonna definitely go watch this yourself if this kind of stuff does interest you. And in addition to that, I will also leave a link to this, because as I said before, I made videos on this subject. All right, so let's let a bit of this play for a moment.
Video on her social media that discriminates against the Ainu people. The Ainu people are the indigenous population of northern Japan with their own language and culture that's different from most Japanese people. The Ainu culture is said to have existed since the 12th or 13th century. Ainu is the word they used to distinguish themselves from the dominant ethnicity of Japan called the Wa people. When Japan began to modernize in the 19th century, Ainu territories were forcibly incorporated into the Japanese nation, and the Ainu people were forced to give up their indigenous culture, language, and way of living. The Ainu were required by the government to become Japanese in language and culture. In 2019, Japanese law officially recognized the indigenous status of the Ainu people for the very first time, which was a moment of long-awaited justice for a people who have suffered cultural genocide. Although the new law forbids discrimination against the Ainu, there is no penalty specified for anti-Ainu discrimination. As a result, this law has limited effect on stamping out anti-Ainu discrimination, which continues until this day.
Alright, so, yeah,
the anti-Ainu politician named Sugita Mio mentioned at the beginning of this video actually has a long history of anti-Ainu discrimination. In 2016, when she was attending a United Nations event, she published a blog post that called an Ainu activist dressed in traditional Ainu attire a cosplayer. In the same post, she also insulted Japanese activists with Korean ancestry dressed in traditional Korean attire. She said these activists who were dressed in their traditional cultural attire were an embarrassment to Japan. In 2023, her 2000...
Alright, Slacky, so basically, again, this is a very, very good video. I actually genuinely like this video because it basically is like a compressed version of... Which, Slacky, that's the thing, they don't even realize, like, the curses that they are, revealing through this video. All right, this is the exact same stuff that the so-called Native Americans are going through, and then because they don't have so-called black people in the country of Japan as prevalently as America, they just use the Ainu people instead as their discriminatory punching bags. All right, so yeah, you got these people that are just openly like racist and discriminatory, and on top of that, there was another thing where a lot of them they're literally they're literally saying that they don't even think that or they don't even recognize so-called the so-called Ainu as actual indigenous people to Japan. And this is the exact same way. This is the exact same sentiment, albeit in a different form of expression that Edomites take towards the so-called Native Americans, as well as so-called black people, in terms of slavery and them stealing the so-called Native Americans' land. All right, so as a result of this, like, this is. I'm not gonna go regurgitate, because a lot of the information I could say, it's already in here. I highly recommend putting these videos on 2x speed, because back then I wasn't as quick when it comes to speaking. Even now I still have that, but not as well not as much, Slakia. Now I want to get into these precepts. Psalm 83 verse 4, they have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. All right, so they are trying to cut these people off from their thing, and this is the exact same thing. And that was Slakia. That's another thing that I had mentioned previously on my videos, where literally everything that they do to the so-called Ainu people, Americans did the exact same thing to the so-called Native Americans. But yet the funny thing, which even the people that had done all the research and had all the information, even they had made such a parallel and said it is amazing how the Ainu people, or the Japanese people, treated the Ainu exactly like the Americans treated the so-called Native Americans, even though they had never had any interaction with them at the time. All right, so they didn't learn their ways, they didn't do all that, but there were so many. As a matter of fact, I want to get one and show you an example.
Shalom, Israel.
I want to get you one of the things and show you, because look at this. These two quotes. All right, if this damn video can play. So this first quote by General John Pope from the U.S. Army: "It is my purpose to utterly exterminate the Sioux. They are to be treated as maniacs or wild beasts, and by no means as people with whom treaties or compromise can be made." This is how he viewed the so-called Native Americans. This is what the Edomite people, the Edomite conquerors had said about the so-called Native Americans when they had first come to America. And then this is a screenshot from one of the Ainu websites I was doing research on. In this, it says, "This treacherous behavior is atypical of the Japanese dealing amongst themselves, which show that they had different rules of honor for dealing with barbarians than Japanese." Slakia. So basically, if they don't consider you to be human, quote unquote, then they're going to lie to you, they're going to betray you, and they're going to backstab you and stuff like that. And this was prior to any interaction that the so-called Japanese people had with the Edomites. All right, so this is why it goes to show that these people are in fact Israelites as well. All right, because of the comparison and how these two groups of people had gone through the exact same thing, even though they were many miles, thousands of miles away from each other on a completely different land, but yet still facing this, dealing with completely different people, but yet going through the completely same problems. All right, let's continue on. Psalm 94 verse 5: "They break in pieces thy people, O Lord, and afflict thine heritage." Now, the reason why I say this is basically going to be the key word of today, heritage, and this is being used in multiple different aspects. In this context, the heritage is being referred to as the Israelites. So the Israelites are the heritage of YAHAWASHI. Slakia. Let me get this. Joel chapter 2 verse 17: "Let the priests, the ministers of the Lord, weep between the porch and the altar, and let them say, Spare thy people, O Lord, give not thine heritage to reproach, that the heathen should rule over them. Wherefore should they say among the people, Where is their power?" So once again, this is we see in this the word heritage, and the heritage is once again being referred to by the Israelites. And also we sigh and cry, we pray to Yahawadah to ask for the Lord to deliver us. And I think it is very important for, I believe, through the spirit and power of Yahawadah. The reason why I saw this video is because maybe someone needs to hear this. Maybe someone is going to, by the time this video comes out, which I don't know when, all right, December, I don't know, whatever, this is, by the time this comes out, then that's when someone who's Ainu, all right, or someone who thinks, and Slaki, that's another important thing, Slaki. So let me also add this. One thing to remember, one thing to heavily note is, in terms of Native Americans, there was a lot of so-called Edomite people that look like Edomite. Oh, Slaki, there's so-called Edomite looking people that are actually Israelites, because there's a lot of and I explain this in my videos, but there's a lot of so-called white looking people that are actually so-called Native Americans, because a lot of the Native Americans, their kids were adopted into so-called white families, all right, and then as they get to the next generation, they keep on getting with another Edomite person, Edomite woman, whatever, and then they keep on looking like Edomites, but when in actuality they're actually so-called Native Americans. And in that same sense, as a matter of fact, it's even worse, it's even more so push out for it's even more so for the so-called Ainu, because what the Ainu do socially is they tend to hide. So let me show you, because there was this one woman over here that literally said that she lied to her husband all throughout her earlier time being with him about her heritage, basically saying that, I had to hide this and that and whatever, and hide my stuff. Here it is. Okay, let's let this video play.
Ainu identity and imply that she's only pretending to be Ainu. In today's Japan, denying someone hide her Ainu identity in traditional Ainu attire.
この写真が嫌で、アイヌだって言わなく、分かってはいると思うけど、いつ口に出されるかっていう。
As she grew older, she decided to no longer hide her Ainu identity and became.
So yeah, basically, even with her husband, she was so scared to reveal that about her. And this is a woman that knew that she was an Ainu. So on top of that, there are also people that don't know. There are so-called Japanese people that don't know. So the crazy thing about this is that you don't even you can see a so-called Japanese person and they might be Ainu, because look, this woman looks like a so-called Japanese person, but in actuality she's an Ainu. And there's a lot of people actually. I was just about to here. Let me go to images so I can show you modern Ainu. So there are some that look, darker, some that look Japanese, some that look non-darker. But this is the thing. All right, this is how it is in Japan, where they look a certain way, but sometimes looks can be deceiving. That's why you're not supposed to be judging people based off on appearance. Okay, so because even then, someone that is, what's that one bitch's name? Tracy Ellis Ross. I now remember Tracy Ellis Ross. She looks like a Jake or an Eve, whatever, but she's actually an Edomite, because her father is a so-called white man, or so-called J. So yeah, this is how, even if you can't just say, or you can't just assume, oh yeah, I've been Japanese all my life, I grew up Japanese or whatever, but in actuality, you're actually you might actually be an Ainu, depending on on your father's side. All right, even then, even if you were to ask your father, oh, hey father, are you Ainu or whatever, blah blah blah, and the funny thing is, even he might not know. Even your parents might not know, because it's been so long. All right, so that's why we try the spirit to see, are you an Israelite or not? All right, this is how things are. All right, so with that, let's continue on. Joel chapter 3 verse 2. For behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, I will also gather all nations and will bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead with them there for my people and for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and part of my land. So Slaki, just a quick, more of a verification that Israel is the heritage of the Lord. Now, actually getting to some more precepts. Job chapter 27 verse 13. This is the portion of a wicked man with Yahweh, and the heritage of oppressors with which they shall receive of the Almighty. All right. Let me get this. For verse 14, if his children be multiplied, it is for the sword, and his offspring shall not be satisfied with bread. Those that remain of him shall be buried in death, and his widow shall not weep, though he heap up silver as the dust, and prepare raiment as the clay. All right, so this is death and destruction is going to come upon these devils for what they've done. All right. Jeremiah chapter 17 verse 4, and thou even thyself shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee, and I will cause thee to serve thine enemy in the land which thou knowest not, for ye have kindled a fire in mine anger, which shall burn forever. All right. And this is the thing. All right. We're going to be discontinued from our heritage, and that's what they've been as well. They've been discontinued from being able to know that they are Ainu and practice Ainu customs. All right. And Micah chapter 2 verse 2, and they covered fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage. All right. Look at what is being said. All right. Finally, Jeremiah chapter 12 verse 15, and it shall come to pass that after I have plucked them out, I will return and have compassion on them, and will bring them again, every man to his heritage and every man to his land. All right, so yeah, basically, this is what we have to look forward to. All right, so Yahawadah, I was able to bring back some awareness on this issue, and Lord willing, any brothers and sisters that are Ainu can see this and return to their heritage as being Israelites, and not just thinking that they are Ainu or something else, something that they're not. So with that, I pray the system was edifying. I want to give all honor, glory, and praises unto Yahawah, Ba'ashem Yahawashi, Ba'ashem Rakak Wadash, double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, Abad Babal, and Shalom.